So this is supporting the peer voice, developing Psychiatric Advance Directives, or PADS in California. It is a California MHSA multi-county PADS innovation project hosted by Painted Brain and CAMHPRO. Thank you.
All right, you can do it.
Okay. Funding source disclaimer. The Psychiatric Advance Directives, PADS Multi-County Innovations Project is funded by Mental Health Service Act Prop 63. The 7 counties participating in the Psychiatric Advance Directives, PADS Multi-County Innovation Project are Fresno, Mariposa, Tri-City, Orange County, Contra Costa, Shasta, and Monterey. Painted Brain and CAMHPRO will support the peer voice for the PADS project from November 2022 and ending in June 2025. The Multi-County Innovations PADS project is an innovations project because it seeks to create a digital PADS technology platform for peers to create their psychiatric advance directives and have it be accessible to law enforcement and crisis workers in a time of mental health or justice-involved crisis. So this is a question that you can respond to in the chat and to reflect on. How would you want to be treated if you were hospitalized or experiencing a mental health crisis? Maybe we should have the chat open.
Yeah.
So then we'll go back and forth. And welcome to everybody who is saying hello in the chat.
Shout out to POCC here.
Yes. Also want to shout out my grandmother's in the audience. Yes.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
No worries. Okay. So, here we go. Thank you, Danny. Danny wrote, I'd want to feel in control in some way.
Oh, Antonia Rose said they would like to be treated with respect and dignity.
and Katie is cheering on my grandma for being in the audience. Thank you for that. Okay. Mary wrote supported.
All right. We'll keep going now. Oh, so we're going to do some welcome and introductions. So Painted Brain, PB, in collaboration with the California Association of Mental Health Peer-Run Organizations, CAMHPRO, will support the PADS project with a peer voice through community outreach, feedback sessions, education, advocacy, and trainings.
And I am Princess Kaczynski, supporting the PADS project as the peer lead for Painted Brain. I identify as a peer, and I am very excited to be on this project because this truly is a way to support peers, their choices, and their voices. And we're very much looking forward to the next 2 years of how this will be rolled out throughout California and all the counties. Corinita?
My name is Corinita Reyes. I'm with CAMHPRO. And I'm going to tell a little bit about my story so you can understand where we're coming from as peers. So for me, I've been hearing voices since I was 10 years old. And at first, this wasn't too difficult. It was just kind of, whatever, another thing in my life. But then around middle school to high school, my voices began to be something difficult to deal with. They would tell me to hurt myself. They'd keep me up all night. I couldn't focus on my studies. So I asked my family, if I can see a therapist. My background is Mexican American, so there is some stigma in our community. My mom told me, no, you cannot see a therapist or anything like that because they'll put you on medication. So I kind of just dealt with the voices as I could throughout high school by doing a lot of music. I did band and all of that. After high school, I did find myself in an abusive relationship for 7 years. And meanwhile, I was trying to do community college and I was dropping classes, failing classes, and also trying to balance a work life. And it was just a lot for me. My last year in community college, I started to see a therapist. But me and the therapist we did not really get along too well. So that wasn't the most helpful thing for me. And I actually ended up having a break my last year of community college. And I ended up in the hospital, the mental hospital, for a day. And when I was there, I was like, no, this is not really helpful either. So I actually finished community college with my certificate in music production. And my original goal was I wanted to go to university, like transfer out, go to university and stuff, but it was too much for me to deal with all these things by myself. And after community college, I was around 26, so I was about to be losing my insurance. So I went to mental health advocates in Oakland, and they helped me to sign up for Medi-Cal. And it was there that I saw a flyer for Hearing Voices Special Messages group. And I started attending that group because I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only one that this is happening to, me and like a couple other like scary people out there. But actually, I learned in groups, this happens to a lot of people in all sorts of different walks of life. And from that group, I met a therapist who had lived experience, and we talked a lot about stigma and how that was affecting me. And then I ended up getting referred to Best Now peer support specialist training. And I finished that in 2019. I started working with the POCC, who we have some people here from the POCC today. And they connected me with CAMHPRO. And this is my second project working with CAMHPRO. And through POCC, I still do run, I co-facilitate the same special messages group now through peers and POCC. So I would just say that along my path, I had psychiatrists, therapists, other health professionals, mental health professionals telling me to just like give up hope on living an independent life, give up hope on working full time, all this stuff. Give up hope on having meaningful relationships. And I'm pleased to say that I live with my long-term partner in our own apartment where I pay rent and I work this awesome job with CAMHPRO and also with POCC. And I think that my story turned out the way that it did because I was able to have choice in my mental health options, in choosing peer support and community support. And so I hope that this project can provide another avenue that people can have choice when it comes to their mental health, and especially in crisis situations. Thank you. So that said, the PADS project supports the goals of system transformation that is peer-driven, culturally competent, and collaborative in design through thoughtful peer engagement, participation, and PADS implementation. PB and CAMHPRO will support the development and implementation of the PADS template, the development of a PADS train the trainer curriculum, advocating for local and state level policies, and supporting peers with creating their PAD. Now let's go over some group agreements. We have confidentiality. What is shared here stays here, and what is learned here leaves here. We are being recorded. This is directly from our presentations that we've been giving. So I do want to give a heads up that you are being recorded in here, unlike what it says in our group agreements. So just know that. Step up, step back. If you're the person who feels comfortable sharing, take note of how often you're sharing and consider giving up time for others to share. And if you tend to be a quiet participant, take a chance and step up with your idea. Share your concerns and excitement with the group. Speak from the I. I statements are ways for people to speak for themselves and their own experiences when talking, and not to speak for others unless asked to. It helps participants to speak the truth and not spread misinformation about them, you, or us. Peer language. Please avoid using stigmatizing language and be prepared to meet others where they're at. People may use different language to describe themselves, but remember to stay focused on strengths and not use stigmatizing language towards others. Personal care. Remember to take care of yourself in the meeting as needed. Feel free to step away, to take a phone call, use the restroom, stretch, etc. This meeting is for you, so take care of your wellness as needed. No crosstalk. Please do not talk over others. On Zoom, please mute when you're not speaking and use the raise hand feature or *6 if you're on the phone and wait to be called upon. And the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, i.e. treat others as you'd like to be treated.
Learning objectives. By the end of this presentation, participants will be given information about Psychiatric Advance Directives as a tool for advanced planning for mental health, review how PADs are relevant to peers as a self-determination legal document, be given an overview of the California MHSA Multi-County PADS Innovation Project, and provide peer feedback about Psychiatric Advance Directives being implemented on a digital PADS technology platform. Keywords: Psychiatric Advance Directives, or PADS, a self-determination legal document allowing an individual with mental health conditions to identify their preference for treatment in advance of a crisis. Self-determination, when peers determine which actions and choices to make for their own lives. Peer, individuals living with mental health conditions may self-identify in various ways, including but not limited to clients, consumers, peers, or persons in recovery. For the purpose of this project, a peer refers to someone who has been diagnosed with a mental health condition. For the purpose of this project, peer specialists are peers who, within their role, offer and disclose their lived experience to help others. Crisis. For the purpose of this presentation, we will utilize the term crisis to refer to a mental health or justice-involved crisis. Advanced planning. Developing and documenting preferred interventions and supports that can be used to support a peer during a time of potential crisis. Peer advocacy. Support provided by peers with similar lived experiences or experiencing similar barriers navigating the mental health or justice system. PADS technology platform. A user-friendly and secure online tool that is interactive and offering cloud-based, real-time access to PADS by necessary stakeholders, such as peers, family members, crisis responders, law enforcement, hospitals, and mental health professionals. Also, the ability to have PADS information readily available to help inform decision-making during mental health crisis or justice-involved crisis.
The peer movement. So, some peer movement history. The psychiatric survivors movement, or more broadly, consumer survivor ex-patient movement, arose out of the civil rights movement of the late 1960s and early 1970s. A key text is On Our Own, Patient-Controlled Alternatives to the Mental Health System by Judy Chamberlain, written in 1978. And the peer movement today evolved from the mental health consumer movement in the 1970s, focusing on rights protection, advocacy, self-determination, self-help, personal and interpersonal help, and supportive services needs. We like to reflect on the peer movement history when we give these presentations so that people can understand where we've been as peers and how PADS fits within our history in moving forward in patients having rights in their mental health journey. Some history of PADS. How did PADS become a legal document? As of 2023, PADS documents in California are unrecognized as a legal document. However, mental health preferences can be included in the current Medical Advanced Healthcare Directive. And since 1990, 27 states have enacted instructional PAD statutes. PADS as a supportive decision-making tool. Research has shown that persons who complete a PAD tend to experience significant improvement in working alliance with their clinicians, fewer coercive crisis interventions, better correspondence between preferred and prescribed medications over time, and increased perception that their personal needs for mental health services are being met.
The PADS template. So a question for reflection. And if you feel comfortable, you can enter your thoughts and feedback into the chat as well. And we'll give some time and then read out a few of the responses. Is there a person in your life that could contact someone to support tasks such as taking care of your children or pets, or to inform your job of your absence?
I just waiting to see if people probably typing.
This is how we wait. We dance it out.
The waiting dance. Billy says, yes, my life partner. Mary says, yes, a colleague that is a peer. Sorry.
I'll read the next one. Antonia wrote, my uncle.
Also, sorry if you hear any like car noises. I do live in a busy area and it is a lovely day, so the window was open.
Adds to the ambiance.
Our tech support staff has run and closed the door for us though.
Thanks, everybody. It takes a team to do this. Okay, we're going to move on to the next slide. The PADS template. The PADS template is the legal document consisting of multiple sections a peer can complete to express their preferences for treatment during a crisis. The PADS template can be used to assist peers in a crisis to advocate in their own voices with family members, caregivers, first responders, hospital staff, crisis workers, and other support staff such as psychologists and peer supporters. The peer chooses what information to include, and not all sections need to be completed. So this is an overview of the project's different sections that will have different prompts for peers to be able to consider as they're doing their advanced crisis planning. So summary, PADS template, psychoactive medication, convulsive treatment or ECT, preferences for emergency treatment, agents and supporters, law enforcement and crisis workers, a signature page, critical physical medical conditions, directive if I'm hospitalized, effective communication and reducing misunderstandings, preferences regarding treatment facilities, my choices regarding experimental studies and drug trials, housing, employment, education. And we have 4 sections that are currently in progress, and they are gender affirming treatment, reproduction rights and justice, natural disasters, and disabilities. And this is an example of the project's template that we have been using. And this is an example from the critical physical medical conditions. And in this section, there are multiple subsections that would be prompting areas for consideration for this advanced planning if a mental health or justice involved crisis were to happen. And some of these subsections are chronic medical conditions, allergies, prescription medications, over-the-counter medications, dietary restrictions or special needs, and wellness tools for physical, medical, and chronic conditions. And this is another example of a section from the project's template, effective communication and reducing misunderstandings. And some of the subsections are things that will help people communicate with me, things that will make communication more difficult, a supporter, such as a peer supporter for legal proceedings, a supporter, such as a peer supporter for legal representation, a supporter, such as a peer supporter for any mental health evaluation connected with a legal proceeding, applicable for conservatorship and competency, and also things that may help, and just other general things that may help me access court proceedings.
So the California MHSA Multi-County PADS Innovations Project. So here's another question that you can answer in the chat. How would you want to see Psychiatric Advance Directives, PADS, implemented in California? And you can answer in the chat. Mary says through peer-run organizations. I like that.
Yeah, that's actually the first feedback that someone has directly said, that's through a peer-run organization. Thank you for that, Mary. Billy wrote, PADS should be recognized as legally binding documents.
And Bonnie says, in a way that we're assured the PADS will be recognized by hospitals, etc.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, we'll give a few more seconds for any more answers that'll trickle in. All right. Oh, Danny says free legal assistance. That's a good one. They're all good ones.
Yes. I'm like, that's good. That's good. That's good.
All right. Thank you for your input. Oh, wait, no. Bonnie said, can you also briefly touch on why PAD is needed in addition to power of attorney for health?
Yes, because right now in California, a PAD on its own is not a legal document. And the only way for that is to be within the Advanced Healthcare Medical Directive.
And this would be a plan that people are creating for themselves beforehand so that it can be followed in the moment of crisis rather than like an after the crisis happens kind of thing.
And also, I just want to add that the Psychiatric Advance Directive is specifically for mental health, opposed to the Advanced Healthcare Directive being all-inclusive of physical mental health. I mean, physical health concerns, such as a do not resuscitate type questioning.
Thank you for that question. All right. I think we'll move on now. All right. So some key deliverables are peer feedback, to listen and gather input on how to make Psychiatric Advance Directives, PADS, accessible to most peers on a digital platform. Advocacy, to create a list of priorities to take to the regional and state levels. Apply learning and advocacy tools to implement the developed priorities and goals. And training, develop a train the trainer curriculum and train peer staff in project counties to support peers with creating their PAD. The peer voice. Psychiatric Advance Directives, PADS, support peers with advanced crisis planning as a tool for peers to express in their own voice their choices for how to engage if a peer were to experience a mental health or justice-involved crisis. The PADS project and peers. By the end of the PADS project, peers will have enhanced their autonomy and self-determination in California's mental health system through the project's education, advocacy, and outreach efforts by having the choice to create their own PAD. So another question that you can answer in the chat. How do you feel about pads being created using the Digital Pads technology platform?
Thank you for that, Billy. Welcome to the 21st century. And previously, Katie, I think, Katie, you were perhaps asking Bonnie for a little bit more clarification, or are you commenting on separately?
Well, I'm support to the project, so I just thought it might be a way of saying something that I believe the project is aiming to do, which is to make a PAD a standalone document.
Yes, thank you for that. That is
Most
definitely something that we're doing. And the second half of this project is about advocacy and legislation. So that will definitely be something that as a group, we will be considering of how to accomplish that, to have this be a standalone legal document.
And Bonnie says, I think this would make pads immediately accessible versus a form in a file cabinet somewhere. Thank you.
And Danny asked, how does it work digitally? Well, currently with the project, what we're doing is that we've just actually today finished our in-person listening sessions, and we've been gathering feedback about the project template. And as we are continuing to gather feedback and integrate that from what peers and other key stakeholders have provided us, we will be working with the subcontractors on this project who will actually be creating a web-based platform, which will allow individuals to have work with a peer supporter or use the facilitator guide that we are creating as well to be able to actually go through the PADS document that is currently paper and pen, have it be on this web-based platform and be able to answer the questions that they choose to do so. And that system will be connected to key stakeholders such as law enforcement and hospitals and crisis workers, so that if an individual is experiencing a mental health or justice involved crisis, that the information that they've already inputted for the advanced planning would be readily available to these key stakeholders to be able to determine what the peer would want during that time, because the assumption is that during that time, their voice becomes, the PAD becomes their voice of that someone has already sat down and considered that if this happens, this is a way to support me. If this happens, do this or don't do that. So to circle back to Danny's question of how does it work digitally, is that this project is creating that platform that the digital PAD will be housed on and will be a space where peers and key stakeholders and other support staff will be able to utilize that platform to access the digitized PAD.
And I would like to add too that we're creating it in a way that it's kind of modular. So the peer will decide who gets to see what information. And we're also getting input from key stakeholders to find out what key information they want to see and how much or how little information do they need. Mm-hmm. And to make that very streamlined and simple as possible while still being as informative as possible.
Yes.
I hope that answers your question. All right. I haven't seen any more. Oh, wow.
What slide were we on?
The scroller just went.
Okay.
Okay. There
we're back. We're back.
Sorry. I didn't realize the mouse scroller will do that. I don't see any more answered question answers. So I'm going to keep going with the presentation.
Reflection questions. If you were hospitalized today, what would you want to communicate to law enforcement, healthcare workers, or crisis workers so they know how to best support you? And again, please feel free to share your responses in the chat, and we will continue to read them out. We have our third co-host, Elise, here. Bonnie wrote, who to contact to let them know what is happening, also where I will be taken. And Billy added, dosage and frequency of my psych meds. Yes. No worries.
Any other input?
And directly to speak about Bonnie's comment that one of the sections for who to contact, that would be listed under agents and supporters, where a peer would be able to determine not only who they would want to be contacted, also who they would not want to be contacted. And then for, as well as for where to be taken, that would be under preferences for, gosh, I forgot the whole thing, but there is a space where hospitals that yes to go to and hospitals not to go to include, and as well as if there's peer respites or anything of that sort, that would also be supportive, that if a person's in a crisis, that they would be able to have the, be able to express like, this is where I would want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And similarly to Billy's sentiment about the medication, that would be listed under psychoactive medications, that would be listed out.
Mm-hmm.
And again, medications currently on, medications I do want, medications I don't want, as well as, because we also want to really encourage people, and this really comes, a lot of the feedback that we've been getting is related to RAP training. And that's a section where people would actually be able to include other holistic and wellness tools that support a person in a time of crisis. And we're counting to 10 because that's how we like to facilitate, to allow people to have a moment to digest the information and then respond back if they want to.
Good. All right, we're going to continue on. I don't remember.
I think it was me.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
just kidding you.
Well, so participating in the PADS project. So for this project, we are having what? To participate in the project, you would need to live in one of these counties: Fresno County, Mariposa County, Orange County, Contra Costa County, Shasta County, Monterey County, and the Tri-City Mental Health, Pomona, Claremont, and Laverne. And if you're interested, if you live in one of those counties, you can visit the project website, padsca.org. And if you're interested in the project, but not in one of those counties, you can still visit the website and keep a tab on what's going on with us.
Yes, we will be posting quarterly updates, and also as we continue through completing our deliverables, such as the PADS template and the trainer curriculum. And when we're getting into the advocacy and legislation, the website really is going to be the landing page for the project to be able to share out what it is that's going on and what our glows and grows are throughout.
Yeah, they recently put up an article about our quarterly convening, and it featured a turkey.
There was a turkey that joined us in Monterey.
So you never know what you're gonna find. It's interesting stuff.
Yes.
Another way you can stay engaged is by attending the LEAD conference, which is a peer advocacy conference hosted by CAMHPRO. It's going to be Monday, June 12th and Tuesday, June 13th, located in Sacramento, California. And you can register at camphpro.org. Katie's here. If you want to drop a link in the chat, Katie, that would be helpful. Thank you. Oh, Antonia asks, can you still create a PAD if you live in another county?
And yes, currently there are other PADS templates available specifically for this project because it is a pilot project. The 7 counties that we have just reviewed, they are the counties that specifically will be going the first round for this pilot project. So yes, you can definitely check out on the internet. You can see if there are some of the other templates. Those, however, will not be a part of the project, and they also won't be digitized into the platform that is being created for this project.
Thank you. Okay, and then we have our contact information. So if you want more information, you can email us at pads@paintedbrain.org. Or like I said, visit padsca.org. Oh, and Katie put in the chat registration for the LEAD conference. So if you can attend, it's awesome. It's in person. It's free to attend. And there's peers from all over the state. There's some amazing speakers. There's some amazing food within walking distance. There's Joe's Crab Shack. That's a sell for me. I'm trying to get crab every time. There's karaoke. Yes, Avery, we're gonna be in there karaoke. Il Exotic, we're performing. So if you want to see us perform, there you go. Followed by karaoke. So then we want to see you perform.
Yes.
And it's just going to be a great time engaging in peer support and community. So yes, please attend. Thanks a bunch. Have our bananas. Yeah, we wanted to open it up, and if anyone has any questions, I guess raise your hand, and we'll call on you as the questions come up.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay. Yes, Bonnie, you have your hand up.
Hello. I think this is a fantastic project. I wish it was in Sacramento. It's such a need because there's just so much confusion about how peers can have a voice in how they're treated in a mental health crisis, and having this kind of digital technology available, I think is fantastic. I am curious, you mentioned that the goal is to make it a legal document. Are you involving someone from the legal profession on your project to help guide that? Or how are you tackling that part of the project to make sure that it will be a legally recognized document, even though it's digital?
Yes, that's a great question. And this is not legal advice. This is just legal knowledge throughout for the project, in the sense that, yes, we are partnering actually with different people that have a different scope of work and experiences to really help guide in these different areas to ensure that, one, that the document is both legally sound, that especially because we're asking peers to, like right now, some of the templates are 40+ pages. So we're really asking people to consider an advanced plan through a document that is very lengthy. So for us, it's on us to really ensure that through the project that we are ensuring that the language is there, that there is support, and this is a 2.5-year project for the peer, for us being on it. So we do have time that we're going to be spending to be continuing just like this, sharing out about the project, about what PADS is, and really advocating and letting people even know about it. And then also through all the feedback that we've gotten, that's coming from key stakeholders, even peers, that's coming from law enforcement, that's coming from healthcare workers. So we really are family members and caregivers. We really are getting that full, robust feedback, so that as we're creating this template and we're getting it digitized, that it would be available to say, like, yes, this has been checked by somebody who is able to give us that point of view and perspective from the legal aspect. So yes, thank you for that. Very important for a legal document to be legally checked.
Billy asked, what is the difference between a wrap and a pad? So the RAP is more of a personal document. Maybe you could share it, but it's not a legal document. And when we visited Reading, Shasta County, they put it in a really good way that they were saying that like the PAD is almost like a part of the RAP plan. It is advanced planning, but it's a different type of advanced planning where you can have this in order to interface with different parties rather than just for your own wellness.
Right. And also as well that with the RAP plan, that's really providing the space and the context for a peer to consider some of those holistic experiences of things such as being able to go for a walk or having access to read books or whatever it may be that will complement the PADS template with where we will be having those sections such as a psychoactive medication where we want to be able to have a place where peers can write the medications that they're on and then also be able to say, these are some other wellness tools that I have. And the RAP plan really helps guide peers through that process of what are those alternative wellness tools that work for me in those moments where I'm needing that additional support and having that be integrated into the PAD.
Mm.
And I will say that with all the feedback sessions that we've had, like when we talk about the PAD, RAP always comes up because it really is a part of the peer language. And that's something that a lot of people in the peer world know about RAP and being able to say like, yes, we're taking that and we're also adding these additional things to it. So I think it's very complimentary and supportive for a person to actually have both if they are able to do that. Thank you for that question, Billy. And this really is like our time for any other questions or anything like that. So please feel free to either type in the chat or come off mute.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to answer as best as we can.
No, this wasn't it. That was the one. Go back to that. All right, do you want me to stop bugging you? I can back.
No.
Okay.
Oh, wrong one.
Oh, Katie, hold on. Okay, got you.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries. We got you.
Wait, you've unmuted. I don't know if that was intentional.
That's okay. We have the muting power.
Yes. And while perhaps you're contemplating some additional questions, we will definitely share out a little bit more about the project in the sense of where we are in the timeline, because since we started on the project in November 2022, and from November until now, literally today, we had been planning both the template that we're being used for the project. And that's where we're getting this additional feedback on. And we hosted all of our listening sessions to gather the feedback from the peers, from the key stakeholders, such as law enforcement, crisis workers, healthcare workers. And that was being done in multiple ways where there are individual work groups that we're having within the project for the county's identified law enforcement and crisis workers and other key stakeholders, as well as other peer work groups that for peers who are within the counties. And now the next steps that we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking the month of May to really go through all of the feedback and the data that we have actually collected over these past several months. And we will be actually integrating that into the PADS template. And we will then be flowing that to the subcontractor who is supporting with the web-based platform development. So then that way, by the end of this year for October, November, and December, we will be in preparation to actually train our first cohort. So we will be using the feedback from the template, and then that template for the project will be I'll say like maybe the foundation for what the train the trainer curriculum is going to be. So the first cohort of peers that will actually be trained will be identified by the counties, and they will be there to support peers from specified target populations that were identified by each county to actually take people through the process of creating this pad and doing so through the platform. And one of the great things about this project and the subcontractors is that this is very participatory. So as we are moving, this is going to be edited and updated, and we're going to be able to have that flexibility to really respond that if we're seeing something that's working really great, fantastic. And if we're seeing things that maybe aren't working and we need to tweak, we have the ability to reach back into these 7 counties, because there are peers and there are these key stakeholders that have already been identified to support on this project, to really say like, okay, we're noticing this, like what needs to be tweaked? How could this be even more efficient, more helpful, and more supportive in this experience, from the peer writing it to the actual practitioners who will be tasked with understanding and finding and knowing what information will be available to them in the document. Is there anything that you would like to add?
No, not really.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like this presentation goes a bit faster on Zoom than in person.
Yes.
Well, that's what we have for you.
That's what we got, Billy. I know that we technically have until 5:45. So we're totally cool to stay on a little bit longer if anyone has any questions or additional feedback that comes up. As we mentioned, you can email us at pads@paintobrain.org if there's any other questions that come up for you, or you can check out our website that will be evolving with us as this project continues on.
Thank you, Coronita. Thank you, Princess.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Yes. And thank you everybody for being here, and shout out to Katie for capturing all the notes for us. We really do appreciate you being here and choosing to spend your time with us.
Annalise says hello.
Our mascot.